Out in the West Texas town of El Paso, I fell in love with a Mexican girl. Nighttime would find me at Rosa's Cantina. Cause the night with the eyes of Felina came at me while casting a spell. My love was deep for this Mexican maiden. I was in love, but in vain I could tell. One night.
High school is often one of the best times in a young person's life, as well as the worst, and the intensity of these often dueling feelings has a way of leaving an impression behind whether you want to or not. With the number of people who pass through them in their lifetime and the high emotions in play, it's no wonder that high schools are often considered havens of ghosts and other associated paranormal activity. So what does it take to be called one of the most haunted high schools in the United States? It would take more than just your average cold spots and strange noises to earn that coveted title. Perhaps a school with some truly twisted and dark tales that boggle the mind and defy all explanations. It would take countless dead bodies, mysterious missing classrooms, and tales of ghostly girls wandering the halls and reenacting their own gruesome suicides. It seems unlikely that any school like this could truly exist outside of a campfire story or a cheesy 80s horror movie, but just north of the border, in the city of El Paso, Texas, one does. In the heart of El Paso High School, the unbelievable is to be believed, and the dead are every bit as restless as the living. But before we investigate further, consider helping Pagan Valley break into the mainstream here on YouTube by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. And if you, friends, and or family love horror content as much as I do, then share this video. With that, let's begin our investigation of the El Paso High School. Opened for students in 1916, El Paso High School has always been an undeniably beautiful campus, nicknamed the Lady on the Hill for her position on a mountainside overlooking the city. Unique from its inception for its Greco-Roman inspired architecture, El Paso High has always carried a distinct elegance that has set it apart from any other structure in the city. Marble floors add distinction to the halls, and fine hardwoods do the same for classrooms. Next to the impressive building is Jones Stadium, seating 12,000 fans and bearing the distinction of being one of the first concrete stadiums in the United States. But it wasn't more than 6 years until the school immediately fell into controversy. From 1922 to 1923, the school's name was changed to Sam Houston High School at the behest of a local chapter of the Ku Klux Klan. I don't know how they did this, but it was a short-lived change after community outrage swelled against the Klan, which is obviously good, but this event was an omen for the legacy the school would later have. On November 17, 1980, El Paso High School officially became a registered historical landmark in the National Register of Historic Places, having taught such esteemed alumni as Academy Award-winning actor F. Murray Abraham and known furry Beto O'Rourke. Between its academics and its highly competitive athletic team, the Tigers, El Paso High School continues a history of excellence on a gorgeous campus that will hopefully teach the state's best and brightest for many years to come. But you didn't click on this video to be sold a vacation package, so let's get into the real reason why people from across the nation want to visit El Paso High School. With such a long, storied history of excellence and a campus this unique and imposing, there are bound to be a few dark tales here and there, but the sheer breadth of their oddity is what makes El Paso's history with the paranormal truly unique. There are a lot of stories in this school, and while some are ones that you normally hear about, such as ghosts, others are so strange that I had to do a double take several times while investigating. Having a high school's most notable moment in history be a morgue is enough to start up a conversation with anyone. During World War II, El Paso High School was occupied by the US military. However, it may surprise you to know that the school still wasn't closed while the military was using the building. Students went to class like any other day, mostly because the military didn't want what was in the classrooms. They wanted what was hidden beneath them. Under El Paso High School is an enormous basement with lots of floor space that the military desperately needed. This space under the school has been described as a labyrinth of empty rooms completely engulfed in shadows. What did the military want with all this space? Well, it's because of the two things that were rampaging through the US at the time, the Second World War and the Spanish flu, which was devastating the US population. So the government was having an overflow problem of dead bodies by filling local morgues in every town with flu victims and combat soldiers whose bodies were returned home. While students went about their normal lives above, the basement, which was renamed to the morgue, was being stacked higher and higher with bodies plagued and bullet-ridden. Anyway, the morgue of El Paso High School would over time move their bodies out of the basement by the use of toe tags that family members would have to look at. They would be told to mask up and enter the basement, where the soldiers would have some memory of what their family member looked like when they put him there, and they would search rotting toe after rotting toe until they found the body. After the Spanish flu was beaten by science, the bodies escaped the tomb of El Paso High at a much quicker rate. Then after World War II ended, the morgue was converted back into a storage basement, and it remains there today. In 1920, it snowed a lot in El Paso to the point where they had to close the schools. Some of the teachers and students had arrived before the closure announcement and weren't allowed to leave due to unsafe road conditions. Having nothing to do, a group of people decided to explore the school, starting with the tunnels in the basement. Why? Well, I don't know. Some of the teachers crawled in through a small opening, which led to a brick wall that blocked a tunnel. The bricks were old and the cement between them was crumbling. Therefore, they pushed one of the bricks until the others gave away, revealing a large dark cavity on the other side. With the help of their flashlights, they discovered a sealed-off classroom. The classroom was still set up with desks in place, texts, and student notebooks still there. There were Baby Ruth candy bar wrappers on the floor from a time where the products sold for only 5 cents, as well as numerous 5-cent Coke bottles. There was a second sealed-off classroom nearby, also ready to receive students, but now filled with only dust and silence. Try as they might, they were never able to discover why 2 classrooms would be sealed off so fast that they would not be cleaned of debris, desks, nor texts, nor the students be given time to claim their personal articles. You would think the administration of the school or even the school district would have some kind of explanation, but you would be wrong. In fact, the sealed off classrooms became a citywide discussion. According to papers at the time, school district's leaders personally reviewed all of the records going back to the school's founding to try and discover a reason for the oddity. They found nothing, and even more surprisingly, did nothing. The discovered classrooms are still in the basement today, but are off limits to students. There are many theories that range from the ordinary to the disturbing that try to explain these classrooms, and I have a couple myself. The first is probably the tamest. I think these classrooms were built as an extra space to put students, since the school was often overcrowded at its foundation. So the basement is all these unfinished rooms that the school never needed. except for these two. When the amount of students went down, they just walled off the old rooms. However, this theory doesn't explain why the students left their things like they were in a big rush, and I don't really have an answer for that. My second theory is definitely wilder. Maybe these two classrooms were purposely built out of the way of the other students, to keep some of the more special students out of the way of the others. I mean, this is the 1910s and 20s, and mental health wasn't as progressive as it was today. And without a facility for the special ed or even a mental hospital not existing in El Paso until way after this discovery, I think they put certain students down in the basement at some point, and then there was some kind of shakeup in the school leadership who realized how absolutely inhuman it was to put kids down there. So they sealed up the rooms to hide what was going on at the time. When the discovery was made, the administration lied to the people in the city about not knowing what the rooms were about, in order to preserve some kind of reputations, maybe? Regardless, the sealed off classrooms are very strange, and they have only added to the creepiness of El Paso High School. In 1922, a teenage girl committed suicide by slitting her wrists and throwing herself off the balcony. Some say her body may have gone, but her soul still remains. After this incident, people started seeing the image of the girl falling off the balcony. The school got several reports of this ghostly image, so they decided to build a wall that blocked the haunted hallway where this occurred. The hallway is still there today, however, it is very difficult to get into. Some paranormal investigators claim the school has a secret door that allows investigators to enter the infamous hallway. I tried finding some footage of one of these investigations, but was unable, so take that as you will. One night, Coach Danny McKillop had brought his team back from a competition in Austin. They had arrived late at school, around 10 o'clock p.m. When the students were gathering their belongings, McKillop heard the Tiger fight song, cheerleaders, and other pep rally noises. Thinking it was a surprise for his team, they ran to the second floor where the auditorium was. When he opened the doors, everything was dark and quiet. It was completely empty. Confused, he went back down to the first floor where his students were. Then the noise started again. This time, his whole team heard it. Everyone ran into the gym again and opened the doors. And again, everything was dark and quiet. They turned on the lights and looked around, but no one was there. In the gym, they searched the steps leading to the stage and found an entire set of Catholic encyclopedias hidden between the steps. They returned it to the library the next day, thinking it was the school's, but they found out it wasn't from their library. Now we are at the most infamous part of El Paso High School's long, terrifying history. Probably the thing that every student has experienced when walking its hallways. Female spirits are repeatedly seen walking with the students, and reports are given almost daily, and still to this day. But the novelty has sort of worn off in 2021, and school administrators are sort of just at the point of shrugging, like, okay, yeah, like what do you want us to do about it? One teacher told a story where, going home from a late night of work, he saw a girl in an old blue dress standing at the end of the hallway. Certain that she was not supposed to be there, he went to tell her to leave the school. When she turned to face him, she looked at him sadly, and only then could the teacher realize that she was as intangible as mist, and she slowly faded away from existence. Another of the most famous El Paso High ghost stories comes from a class picture taken of the 1985 graduating class. Mixed in among a row of teachers is a faded young woman in a white dress. Only a few people in the picture seem to notice her, and upon questioning, nobody in the picture claims to know who she was. Other people have insisted that she was actually not in this original picture, but over time she has slowly faded in next to the teachers. Whatever the case, this young woman remains another of the strange ghostly mysteries that El Paso High School has to offer. The High School from Hell is without a doubt an interesting paranormal case. With such a terrifying history filled with negativity and horror, it's not hard for anyone with just a tiny bit of belief in the paranormal to think something is occurring behind the ancient school doors. Although I totally believe there is this basement with abandoned classrooms under the school, I'm just not as sure of these ghosts people warn about. Yes, the photos are creepy, but I am afraid I have to put El Paso High in this category of I have to investigate it myself to make a judgment call. Regardless of what I think, El Paso High School has left a mark in the city of El Paso for over a century now, and its ever-looming presence over the town makes it a reminder of terrible times long ago. And I think that is the most hellish part about it. But what do you think about El Paso High School? Let me know what you think in the comments, especially if you were a student at the school. Are these stories of ghosts just rumors, or is it common to see ghosts walk with you to class? This investigation was suggested by Eduardo M in the comments, so thank you, Eduardo. If you know any places you feel are worth an investigation, then let me know down below, but not before you like this video and subscribe to the channel. With that, this has been Pagan Valley, and I wish you all a good night.